How's it going today? Today we're going to talk about a portfolio that I always recommend for people that don't really know, don't want to buy stocks, but want to put some money in the market. This is what I recommend. Make sure you like and subscribe. I pick stocks. I talk about stocks. I do stock stuff on my channel and everything. But anyway, today we're going to talk about the free best what to do in your portfolio. This is the beginner. This is probably the best portfolio. And honestly, I have a trouble beating this portfolio. I came up with this thing years ago. It's really, really good. It has some growth in it. It has some balance in it. It's really simple too. And that's what I like about it. And that's why I always recommend this portfolio. And I doubt the average person can even probably beat this. I mean, my stocks that I pick on the channel have, if you pick the good ones, but if you picked all the bad ones, well, you probably underperformed this one. You probably did pretty well, but I mean, you need really those high growth things. Anyway, I'm going to leave a link on the description of the 10 best stocks for the next 5 or 6 years that I picked on my channel. A lot of them are up quite a bit, but they're pulling back, so maybe it's a good time to buy. But anyway, I'm not going to make it about that or anything like that, but we're going to just jump right into them. What is it? What are these? They're actually not companies. They're actually an ETF, or basically what that is, it's like a mutual fund. I'm not going to get into the terminology. Basically it's a bunch of stocks lumped together and you buy the whole thing. So it's like owning a small percentage, but it's diversified. And we're going to jump in. The first one, obviously, is the S&P 500. Or the ticker symbol, you can type it on Robinhood, just type it SPY. It should come up with the spider. You can use the Vanguard one, which I forget it's VOO, I think is the Vanguard one. It just goes say S&P 500, and it's basically just an index fund. And that's basically what it is. It's the 500 largest companies in the United States. Think of Apple, Amazon, Microsoft, Google, Netflix, Pepsi, the banks, like JP Morgan, Bank of America, Berkshire Hathaway, Pepsi, Coca-Cola, Johnson & Johnson, Pfizer, all those companies. Basically, they're all lumped together into this index, and they're kind of market weighted. So as a company gets bigger, it has a bigger percentage in this index, and as they sell off or get smaller, so basically that's what it is. And over the last 5 years, this thing has went up 94%. The S&P's 500 up today, 94%. So this thing has done very well, even if you bought it. But the best thing about this portfolio is you can buy just a small percentage. Let's say there's 3 of them. So essentially what I recommend is 50% of this portfolio is the S&P 500 fund. So that I just recommended, and 50% of it. So essentially on 50% of your money, we got 94% return, and that's not including dividends. I could have calculated dividends. I kind of forgot to do them, but it does pay a dividend. It's like 1-2%. But anyway, now moving on to the next one, which is I always allocate 30% of the portfolio, is a Vanguard Growth Fund. I mean, it's simple. It works. I mean, I love this thing. I mean, it's VOOG is the ticker symbol that you can type in Robinhood or Yahoo Finance. And basically, this thing's up 127%. So this is where you get the growth from the other portfolio. So essentially, and this has, think of a Visa, a lot of tech, but it's not really technology. I mean, technology is kind of where all the growth is, kind of, but this thing is an S&P 500, so it doesn't have small caps. It doesn't have smaller companies, so it's like the S&P 500, but they more allocate it towards growth. So it has all the S&P 500, but they just have basically a higher percentage of holdings in higher growth stocks, if that makes sense. They're growing faster. So essentially, let's say a company is growing at 20%, and companies like, let's say, Coca-Cola, that's not really growing at all, that's just kind of stagnant, it would still have the Coca-Cola shares, so you still have dividends and stuff like that, and that's why the thing is not skyrocketing and crashes where it's all growth, because that's not 100% good way if you want diversification or basically less volatility, or basically less risk. You take off the risk with value, because value stocks, they just kind of sit there or anything like that. So it's more allocated towards maybe the Visa and the MasterCards and the Googles and stuff like that. So anyway, now the last one I allocate 20% is the NASDAQ, is the QQQ, which is the NASDAQ kind of thing. And this is basically your tech. This is basically your tech stocks. I mean, this thing's up 194%. So as you can see, basically what I'm doing is 50% of your money is pretty safe in the S&P 500. It's basically the standalone. This is what you put your money in. This is your retirement, is the S&P 500. And then I'm like, you know what? Let's boost that a little bit by putting a growth fund in there, by putting 30%. So let's say you have $10,000, or, you know, I'm just making the numbers easy. You put maybe $5,000 in the S&P, 30%, which would be 3,000%, and, you know, into that. And then you have the NASDAQ, or the QQQ, which is, I don't know why they give it QQQ. Don't type in NASDAQ. There's a NASDAQ company. Type in QQ, triple Q. And it's basically the NASDAQ. It follows the NASDAQ index, or the NASDAQ 100, or whatever it is. And that's basically what it does. So basically, when I did the average over the last 5 years, you would be up 138%. So if you put $10,000 and allocate it like I had it here, you would have $24,000. So I mean, this thing, and that's not including dividends. All these things pay out dividends, so your gains would probably be maybe 25, maybe a little higher, so maybe 140%, maybe 141%. I mean, you can kind of change. Well, it'd probably be a little higher if you reinvested your dividends, and I didn't do all that. If you reinvested it and all that. But anyway, that's a 19% average rate of return for over the last 5 years, which the S&P has done very well over the last 5 years. But this thing gives it a little more oomph into it, without you know, the big sell-off. Because if you put all your money in tech, well, look right now, you know, you have a tech sell-off and all this going kind of haywire with this and that. And if you put it on growth, maybe growth could get hit. But anyway, that's what I really do. And you can kind of change up the numbers. Maybe you don't want to put it in technology. You can just go 50-50 on the growth fund and all that. But as you can see, they get more riskier. So that's why the percentage of it goes down, to give it a boost, I guess. So essentially, I mean, you would have, so that's an extra. If you did it the other way, you would be up 94% just in the S&P 500. Which would be 10,000 to what? Maybe 19,000. So, I mean, you're losing out maybe on $5,000 there over the last 5 years. So, maybe if that, well, actually about $1,000 a year. Over the long term, that's a bigger thing. As it goes on, that's a bigger and bigger and bigger thing. But that's why I do it that way. Because if you put it all in tech, maybe, because look at the tech bubble. So that I don't think, as a safe investor, or someone that wants less risk but wants growth, I think this is probably the best portfolio. I would like to see what you guys think. And a lot of people have trouble even beating the S&P 500. And this fund right here, I mean, this one's pretty hard to beat. I mean, you would have to have maybe some individual stocks. And that gets more risky. But for some people, I hear a lot of people saying, oh, man, I'm down 30%, 40% on this stock I bought last month. Or Lemonade, or the Trade Desk is down 40%. I don't want to lose 40% of my money every 6 months, because that's normally what happens. I mean, Shopify in 2016 lost 56% of its value. It went from like 36 all the way down to $12, I think. And now it's at 1,000. So it's been a wild ride for Shopify, and that you can just look it up on a chart with that. But anyway, that's all I gotta say today, and that's what I am giving you. So I think that's the best beginner stock portfolio. I think it's great. I think it's easy. That's what I like about it. You know, you just, whatever your money is, you just take 50%, put it in the S&P, 30% in the growth fund, and 20% in the NASDAQ. And I think over the long term, if you don't sell out every 5 seconds, but over 5-6 years, I think, especially over the long term, like 30 years, I should have went out 30 years. It would be a big difference compared to the S&P 500. But anyway, that's all I gotta say. Make sure you like, subscribe, everything like that. I give individual stock picks, so basically you can use this maybe at your base. Maybe 80% of your portfolio is this portfolio, and then you can maybe the other 20% that you have your money, you can invest in the individual stocks to give you a little more oomph and a little more growth in it. And I think that's a good strategy too. But anyway, that's all I gotta say today. And thank you for watching, and make sure you subscribe, and I go keep you posted. I think, but this portfolio, I really have. It's really hard to beat. I don't think a lot of people can get an average of 20%. Like I said, with dividends, it would be over 20% on average. I mean, that doubles every 3 or 4 years. So, I mean, that's a hard portfolio to beat. It's been good, but that's all I gotta say. And the market will sell off, so this thing will be, but it will be slightly more volatile than the average market anyway. But that's all I gotta say. And thank you for watching. And I gotta keep you posted and everything like that. And make sure you comment, like, subscribe, and all that. And thank you.